So in the book of Job, there's this guy named Job. And he is righteous and upstanding and does all of the things that he is supposed to do and more. Whenever he goes in for his evaluation, it is exceeds expectations across the board. And then one day, he loses everything. All of his livestock, all of his crops, all of his barns, all of his buildings, all of his sons, all of his daughters. It's just him and his wife and some friends. And he is angry. He is disturbed. He is upset. Yeah. And he has this conversation with his friends and this conversation with God that comes down to, what do you want? I did all the things I was supposed to do and more. I haven't done any of the things that I wasn't supposed to do, no matter what my friends say, who are all coming up with an excuse. What is going on? I was told that if I did things right, things would go okay. I would like an explanation. Thank you very much. And near the end of the book, God shows up, which is always a little worrying, and says, more or less, what gives you the right to question me? I'm sorry, did you build all of this? Did you make everything? Do you store the snow in snow storehouses? Do you keep the rains up here? Do you make sure that plants get what they need in their time and that animals get food in their time? Are you in charge? Gives you the right to question me. There's this guy named Fred Clark who reads Job in this really fascinating way. I love his reading of Job because he says what God is saying is, you don't see things from my perspective. I'm up here above it all, and you cannot see the beauty that is going on. Reality is like a tapestry, and I get to see it from the front, and wow, it is amazing, and you're stuck looking at it from the back with all the knotted strings and threads and everything. You're not seeing the picture, so you can't understand how beautiful it is. And Job is saying, fair enough, but you're not seeing it from our perspective. From down here, from behind the tapestry where it's all knotted threads and strings. And it doesn't make any sense at all. And I really would appreciate it if you could find a way to have it make sense. Because I'm never going to be able to see it from your perspective. And I really wish you could see it from mine. Our story today is about Jesus, the one in whom the divine and the human, the holy and the broken meet, God become one of us, going through maybe the hardest thing that a human being can go through, the death of someone they love. And John, being John, tries to make it all majestic and stuff. But if you read kind of under the text, if you pay attention to what is happening, if you think about how people react, I think you can see a deeper story. Because all the while that Jesus is talking about signs and power, and this will be for the glory of God, Jesus is walking towards the tomb of his friend. And he knows that he was not there when his friend was sick. And he knows that he was not there when his friend died. And people are telling him that he was not there when his friend was sick and died, and if he had been there, everything would be fine, and this wouldn't have happened, and there wouldn't be a tomb to walk towards, but he wasn't there, and now he's doing this. And there's this moment, this verse that is famous for being the shortest verse in the entire Bible, where Jesus weeps. And I've been thinking about that verse, because if you're going to talk about Lazarus, you got to talk about Jesus weeping. Everybody knows the verse. A year or two after I graduated from college, a friend of mine died in a car accident. He was driving, I don't even remember where, I think to school. He was still going to school, and he went to school a ways away, and he was on his way there, and his car was not a great car, and it was winter, and a van hit some ice and hit his car. And I don't remember the details. I think he went to the hospital, but it was pretty quick. And I remember on the day that I heard the news, because I was still in the town where I went to college, going to the college and going into a practice room and playing until I was empty. All of the anger and frustration and sadness and shock and surprise became sound. And I don't know how long I was in there. But when I came out, for a moment, there was nothing left. And I remember getting together with friends and watching movies because we didn't want to not be watching something. We didn't want to be left alone with our thoughts. I remember getting together with friends and going to the bar because that would ease the pain. And my friend who died was from St. Louis, so a bunch of us went to St. Louis for the funeral. And I vaguely remember the casket being rolled in and my just letting out a wail. Because all of a sudden it was real. Like really, really real. And all I could do was let out this wail. Jesus wept feels dainty. It feels calm. It feels like too much, like it's too soft. Your friend has died, and you weren't there, so you wept. A single tear rolled down your face. And I just don't buy it. I don't buy Jesus wept, unless wept can include so much more. Jesus cried. Jesus was walking to the tomb, red-eyed, tear-stained, a little bit of snot, doing that thing where you're crying so hard that you can't get the breath, those deep pulls for air, just so that you can let them out in a cry some more. Jesus had a meltdown. Jesus wailed. Jesus did the things that we do when we lose someone who we love. And there are then a couple of ways to read the rest of the story. Maybe Jesus really knew what Jesus was about to do. Jesus was going to walk up to that tomb. Jesus was going to order that it be opened. And Jesus was going to call Lazarus out. And this was going to be a sign of the power of the God who is love as one of us. And even though Jesus knew that he was going to do that, Jesus had the breakdown. And that's fair. We can read it that way. That is how John would like us to understand what is going on. But I also wonder if there's a little part where Jesus didn't know what he was going to do. Where Jesus, red-eyed, tear-stained, went up to the tomb and saw what was there and did the thing that we all do when we lose someone we love. Wish really hard that they would come back. And if Jesus let out the cry that we all long to cry out, stand up and come out here. Don't be dead anymore. And because it was Jesus, because it was the God who is love, because it was the one in whom holiness and brokenness meet, it happened. And that didn't erase the fact that Lazarus had died. That's the hard part. It is a matter of faith. It is something that is strongly within the Christian tradition that someday, by and by, there will be a resurrection. That Christ was not the only one who stepped out of the tomb, but the first one who stepped out of the tomb, the first fruits of a new creation, and someday, by and by, all of the other tombs will open as well. I don't know the details. I don't know how it works in all the things. I don't know what we do about the decay of bodies or cremation or whatever. But somehow, in some way, everyone will rise again and stand up and be themselves, and that does not erase the fact that they died. All that feeling is still there. And this is the thing, right? If Job wanted God to understand what it was to lose, Christ in this moment is the response. It is God understanding what it is to lose. No matter who we are, no matter where we are on life's journey, while the details might be different, God knows what it's like. And again, not in the abstract way of omniscience, but in God's bones. That has, as I said during the time with young worshipers, that has been the point of this short little sermon series. It was short to start with, and then it got truncated because we had a snow day, and it could have been so much longer. If you want to see the word weep, you look at this moment. If you want to see the word angry, watch him flip over tables in the temple. If you want to see the word celebrate, watch him at the wedding at Cana. If you want to see the word show compassion, find that passage where a woman who has been bleeding for years and years touches the hem of his robe. If you want to see the word get corrected, find the bit with the Samaritan woman who says, "Oh, even us dogs get the crumbs from the table, man. Show me some love." If you want to see the word suffer, look to the cross. If you want to see the word rise in glory, look to the empty tomb. God has been there. God knows what it is to be one of us. That is the crazy, bananas, bonkers claim of Christianity. The sovereign of the universe, the one who comes out of a whirlwind and says, "Who are you to question me?" comes into the world and learns why we ask those questions. Finds out who we are from the inside. And I don't know if it's because of that. I mean, I think it's because of who God is. God is love, but a little bit, there's something here that if God has been through it, then we know for sure that we can go to God in our distress. And God will show compassion. Because all of us who have lost someone can show compassion to someone who has lost someone. All of us who have been angry can show grace to someone who is angry. All of us who have messed up, so all of us, can show mercy to someone who is messed up. God knows what it is to be one of us. And that is maybe the best news of all. Because it means that we are not alone. We're not even alone with each other. But the God who is love is right here, in us, around us, and among us, joying in our joys, sorrowing in our sorrows, knowing what it is to be human from the inside. And that God has unbelievable compassion for who we are. Thanks be to God.